in the fable The North Wind and the Sun. The two celestial bodies argue over who is stronger, deciding to test their power by seeing who can make a traveler remove his cloak. The north wind blows with all its might, but the traveler only wraps his cloak tighter. The sun then shines gently and warmly, causing the traveler to become too hot and willingly take off his cloak. The story's moral is that kindness and persuasion are more effective than brute force. The story, the argument, the north wind and the sun are arguing about who is the stronger of the two, in a vast and open sky, where clouds drifted lazily and the world below went about its day. A great debate began. The north wind, a blustery and proud force of nature, boasted of his incredible power. "I am the strongest being in the world," he roared, his voice like the howl of a winter storm. "When I blow, the great trees bend before me, and the mighty oceans churn with fear. Ships are tossed about like mere toys, and people hide in their homes, shivering from my icy breath. Nothing can stand against my might." The sun, a calm and radiant presence in the sky, listened patiently. With a warm and steady glow, the sun replied, "Your power is indeed great, North Wind. You can cause much change and inspire fear. However, true strength is not always about force and fury. There are other ways to show power, ways that are gentler and, I believe, even more effective." The north wind scoffed at this idea. "Gentleness. What strength is there in being gentle? Power is about making others yield to your will, about forcing them to do as you command. Your quiet warmth is pleasant, but it has none of the raw power that I possess." The argument continued, with the north wind's blustering claims echoing across the heavens and the sun's calm reasoning, providing a steady counterpoint. They could not agree. The north wind was convinced that his ability to command with force was the ultimate measure of strength, while the sun held firm in the belief that persuasion and gentle influence were a more profound form of power. They needed a way to settle their dispute once and for all, a test that would prove without a doubt who was truly the stronger of the two. The challenge. They encounter a traveler wearing a warm cloak and make a bet. Whoever can force the traveler to remove his cloak will be proven the stronger one. As their argument raged, their attention was drawn to the world below. A lone traveler was walking along a winding country road. It was a cool day, and the man had a thick, warm cloak wrapped snugly around his shoulders. He walked at a steady pace, seemingly untroubled by the great debate happening far above him. The sun, seeing the man, had an idea. "Look there, North Wind," the sun said, its light pointing towards the traveler. "Let us have a contest. We will put our strength to the test on that man. The one who can succeed in making him take off his cloak will be declared the stronger." The north wind looked down and saw the man, a wide, chilly grin spread across his face. "An excellent idea," he boomed. "This'll be a simple task for me. I will blow with such force that he will have no choice but to let go of his cloak. It will be ripped from his very shoulders." The sun simply nodded in agreement. "Very well," the sun said calmly. The terms are set. The first one of us to make the traveler remove his cloak wins the argument and will be acknowledged as the stronger one. The North Wind, ever impatient and eager to prove his might, insisted on going first. "I will take the first turn," he declared. "Prepare to witness my awesome power and be humbled, son. This contest will be over before you even have a chance to try." The sun graciously agreed, receding slightly to give the North Wind the stage. The wager was made, the challenge was clear, and the unsuspecting traveler below was about to become the subject of a powerful experiment. The North Wind's attempt. The North Wind goes first, blowing a strong, cold blast of wind. However, the traveler simply holds his cloak tighter and pulls it closer around himself. The harder the wind blows, the more firmly the traveler holds on, eventually causing the North Wind to give up in frustration. Taking a deep, enormous breath, the North Wind gathered all his power. He then unleashed a ferocious blast of cold, biting wind directly at the traveler. The wind howled like a pack of wolves, sweeping across the landscape, kicking up dust and leaves. The trees along the road bent and swayed violently, their branches groaning under the strain. The traveler, caught completely by surprise, staggered from the sudden force of the gale. The cold air pierced through his clothes, and he shivered. But did he let go of his cloak? No. In fact, he did the opposite. Reacting to the bitter cold, the man clutched the front of his cloak with both hands and pulled it even more tightly around his body. He hunched his shoulders and leaned into the wind, determined to continue on his journey. Seeing the traveler's resistance, the North Wind became angry. "You will yield to me," he roared, and he blew even harder. He sent a second, more powerful gust, a furious torrent of icy air that was so strong it nearly knocked the traveler off his feet. The wind tore at the edges of the cloak, trying to rip it away, but the man was resolute. The colder and more violent the wind became, the more he fought to protect himself. He wrapped the cloak so securely around himself that not a single bit of the chilling wind could get inside. He pressed on, one difficult step at a time, his face grim and his grip on his cloak unwavering. The North Wind blew and blew with all his might, throwing everything he had at the man. He howled, he raged, he sent freezing blasts one after another, but it was no use. The traveler only held on tighter, his cloak becoming his shield against the onslaught. Finally, exhausted and utterly frustrated, the North Wind gave up. His powerful breaths became weak sighs, and he retreated, defeated. His display of immense force had failed completely. The sun's attempt. The sun then takes its turn. It begins to shine with a gentle, warm light. As the warmth increases, the traveler begins to feel uncomfortable. After the North Wind's blustery retreat, the sky grew calm. The sun, who had been watching patiently, now moved forward to take its turn. It did not burst forth with a sudden, intense heat. Instead, the sun began its attempt very gently. A soft, pleasant warmth started to spread over the land. The sun's rays peeked out from behind the clouds, casting a golden light on the traveler. At first, the man welcomed the change. After the bitter cold of the north wind's attack, the gentle warmth of the sun felt wonderful. He relaxed his tight grip on his cloak slightly and straightened his back, a sigh of relief escaping his lips. The air was no longer biting and hostile, but calm and soothing. The sun continued to shine, gradually and steadily increasing its warmth. It was not an aggressive heat, but a persistent and pervasive kindness. The pleasant warmth soon became a comfortable heat. The traveler felt the chill leave his bones. He unfastened the top clasp of his cloak, allowing the mild air to touch his neck. He began to walk with a lighter step, enjoying the beautiful day that was unfolding. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, its rays grew stronger. The comfortable heat started to become a little too warm. The man, who had been so desperate for warmth just moments before, now began to feel a bit stuffy inside his heavy cloak. He started to wish for a little breeze to cool him down. The sun, noticing this, continued to shine its light, making the air warmer and warmer. The gentle persuasion was beginning to work where brute force had failed. The traveler was no longer fighting an external force. Instead, a feeling of discomfort was growing from within. The traveler's action, the sun's rays become increasingly warm, causing the traveler to sweat. Eventually, he becomes so hot that he voluntarily removes his cloak and seeks shade under a nearby tree. The sun's steady golden rays continued to pour down, and the air grew hotter. What had started as a gentle warmth was now becoming a significant heat. Small beads of sweat began to form on the traveler's forehead. The thick, heavy cloak that had been his salvation from the cold wind was now becoming a burden. It felt heavy and suffocating. He fanned himself with his hand, but it provided little relief. The warmth was relentless. Soon the man was sweating freely. His face was flushed, and he felt uncomfortably hot all over. The cloak that he had held onto so desperately was now the source of his misery. He looked at the road ahead, then at the bright sun in the sky. He could not bear the heat any longer. With a sigh, he stopped walking. First, he fully unfastened the cloak. Then he shrugged it off his shoulders, letting it fall into his arms. He had removed the cloak entirely, not because he was forced to by an outside power, but because he himself chose to. He wanted to be free of its warmth. Feeling an immediate sense of relief, he folded the cloak neatly over his arm. He then looked around and spotted a large leafy tree by the side of the road, offering a cool patch of shade. He walked over to the tree and sat down beneath its branches, glad to be out of the direct sunlight. The sun shone down, its work complete. It had not used force or fury. It had simply changed the man's environment, making him want to remove the cloak for his own comfort. The sun had won the contest, proving that gentle persuasion can be far more powerful than violent force.